Okay, what's the goal of the product snowball? You got to put as many people into your signature programs as possible, right? Your product launch is designed to get people into your signature program, and you're going to upsell people into this program. Now, we're going to talk about that signature program. You're doing these little launches to build your community, but ultimately, your goal is to get people into your signature program. Okay, you tweak that offer as time goes forward. And you should always be developing and redeveloping that program, right? Your signature program, it should be your top price product. It should be your monthly product, whatever it is, right? I'm not a big believer necessarily that you got to have a super high price monthly program. But if you're going to have one, make it your signature program. Now, here again, this is what your PLR is for. You are developing products on a continual basis, and you are developing an expertise solving a certain kind of problem, right? That's how you're going to get credibility. That is how you're going to get credibility in the marketplace. And once you start to develop, do you know what your product line is? I would ask you what your product line is. I could tell you what it is. Whatever's common about the last 3 to 4 products that you produced. What's in common about the last 3 products you produced, that's your product line. For now, unless you want to figure out another brand. If you've gotten people to buy products from you and they all have some similarity, you're already developing a brand. Now what you have to do is you've got to figure out what are the problems people are having and keep solving those problems and keep releasing products that solve those problems. Develop a brand around your product line because, again, we're not going to the market and saying, this is what my brand is. Right? We're going to sell something first. So the market has voted. They voted on your brand. They like you, and they like you enough to buy these products. That's your brand. Right? You say, well, I don't like that brand. But the brand likes you. The market likes you. And so when you start, that's why the product snowball is so important because you're going to launch some stuff and it's going to bomb. Not going to get any sales at all. You're going to launch some and it's going to do better than you thought it was. And you're going to launch, and what's going to happen is a pattern will emerge, right? A pattern will emerge, and you will start to see, well, this is what people like from me. And you will then begin to develop other stuff that's going to be like it, right? So develop a brand around your product line. And then I have develop a why around your band, not your band. Develop a why around your brand. And because at some point, doesn't have to be right away, there is a reason why you help people with the products that you do. There's a why. You might have to kind of, you might have to kind of get into some of those murky sort of, touchy-feely areas. Right, I'm no good at it, but you do have to kind of find out. Well, why is this the way that I help people? Why is this the way? There's typically a reason, and typically you want to be able to tell people that, right? People will resonate with the reason you help them in this way. There's a why to that, right? There's a why, and so this is really how you start to develop some of those. Those big picture sort of things. You start to develop these branding campaigns because the why is how you connect with person. You don't have to brand. You don't have to be, you don't have to spend $1 million on your brand. You got to connect the why though to why I want to buy my product from you. Right? It goes into USP and all the other stuff, which we will get to later on. But that's really the goal of the product snowball. Okay, and we'll talk just briefly about the sales process. Okay, you can have the graphics outsourced in the Warrior form if you got to do it, right, for the sales. Use the sales letters from your PLR, turn them into a sales video. So, in other words, take the sales video and the PLR, put it in PowerPoint, narrate it in Camtasia. Right, that's all you need for a sales video. Doesn't have to be major. Get the PLR sales thing, the sales letter, tweak it, put it in Camtasia, and narrate it. Right, don't spend a lot of time on the copy because you are going to Warrior Plus. A lot of stuff you're going to find the right customer by categorizing correctly. Okay, upload your video to YouTube and then put it on your sales page. Now, what are you adding as a benefit? right? You are adding a benefit from relief for something specific. You're doing relief in a certain period of time. That's the basis of the product I'm telling you to create, right? Relief from something specific. So you're turning the PLR into something specific, and you're doing it in a certain period of time. It's a hackathon. It's a 30-day challenge. It's a 7-day program. It's a 90-day system. It's a 30-day challenge. It's something. Relief in a certain period of time. Okay, now here's what's important, and I want to close with this. You want to make the relief something your client can visualize, right? So when I say relief from something specific, part of what you're going to do in your sales letter is you want to get the person to see what their life is going to be like once they finish your product. What would it be like? You could put up a Udemy course in one day, right? What would it be like if you could put up a Udemy course in one day? I don't know if that's a legitimate thing, but I'm just saying you got to get the person to visualize the benefit, right? So it's got to be something. So when you start talking about something specific in a certain period of time, get them to visualize. It should be something you can visualize, something really cool that you could visualize. Does that make sense? So the selling process is trying to get something tangible, right? You've got to make it tangible, because you're going to emphasize this through the sales copy. You don't have to be a great sales copy writer. I'm not one. I don't know that I'm a great sales copy person, but I can visualize a tangible benefit. Right, so again, that is something that, again, us normal people can do, right? Visualize something tangible. Okay, you do have to know the content, right? That goes without saying, so that'll help you. It'll help you if you can do a webinar. It'll help you if you can do an interview, right? It'll help you if you have content tags to help you with the expert content, right? If you have contacts. I say you can do a webinar. You need to have webinar line. If you don't have webinar line, you can do this with Google Hangouts, right? So don't get stuck on that. You can do this with Google Hangouts. You need to be able to write and design copy. Now, because you're going to be, and here's why I say that. Now, you could actually go out and you could have these things outsourced. Your copy, that's going to be really expensive, right? Unless you have somebody that's willing to do it for free. And I don't know if those people exist. You're going to have to be able to manipulate the design. And here's what I mean by that. And I really do think that if you've got to wait on a designer to do everything for you, then you can't launch fast, right? Because sometimes the turnaround time on talking to a designer, all I'm saying is it doesn't have to be Photoshop. It can be eCover Authority by Chad. It can be Usign. You just got to be able to make some e-covers and some banners, right? Or you need to be able to buy some Photoshop actions. You got to be able to do a little bit of something yourself if you're going to launch quick, right? So if you have a kid, you got this millennial at home, put them to work, right? Typically they can do some of this stuff, but short of that, and I know not everybody. I'm not saying everybody should put their kids to work or anything like that. I'm saying though, you got to be able to do some of this stuff quickly and in-house and make changes quickly before you can go and hire out everybody. Now, if you can actually go and get a designer and you can put them on retainer and they can turn stuff around to you, I mean, like really fast for you to put together a really fast launch, wonderful, right? There are some people who have arrangements that are like that. But short of that, you have to be able to put your hands on something and make changes quickly. Now, it'll help you to have a list, but you don't have to have one. I'm telling you how to build one if you follow the product snowball, because every time you launch a Warrior Plus, when you set up your list, all these people are going to become part of your buyers list, right? So every time you launch a product, you get a buyer, they're going to become part of your marketing list. So again, if you have a list, wonderful. If you don't, this is how you're going to build one. You have to snowball, right? You snowball quickly, and you build momentum with the launch, right? The launch is the way you build a list. You don't have to have a list to do a launch. You do a launch to get a list. And you got to make sure you got the right equipment. If you don't have a page builder, go get one. It doesn't matter which one it is. You got to get lead pages, optimize prep. I don't care which one. Don't put it off. Just go and get one. If you're spending a lot of time trying to figure out your page builder, you got the wrong one. right? I'm serious. If your page builder is causing you to spend all the time and trying to figure it out, you got the wrong one. So get the one you know how to use. Even if you have to pay a little more for it, even if it's not being launched. Doesn't matter. Get the one you know how to use, and then get a member area you know how to use. Right? So again, you might have to pay up for this. Right? You might have to pay a little more for this. But if you know how to use it and you launch quickly, understand something, you're going to get it back. Again, I stop short of it. I don't want to make guarantees to you. All I can tell you is when you can finally launch, you don't have to worry. You're not trying to figure out how you're, trying to figure out your members area and your pay. I can just tell you off the record, right, that these two things were sticking points for me, right? Trying to figure out how to get a members area to work and trying to get a page builder to work. And until I bought Optimized Press, and eventually my daughter figured out how to do ClickFunnels. That's really how I settled on those two things. That's just my personal story. You have to find out what works for you. Right? Okay. I want to take an angle at this. So let's talk about how you're going to do this. Right? So this is how I suggest you go about this. Okay, so how do you increase a PLR course's value? I always say you want to turn it into something that your customer, can use. Number two, turn it into something specific. We just talked about that. Number three, here's the thing, right? Give it a deadline, right? Give it a deadline. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Well, and also, right, and I know that this, don't be quick to give resale rights. Don't always just, that should not be your fallback position. In some cases, you don't need to give resale rights. When you solve somebody's problem, you don't have to give resale rights to get them to buy it. Right? Now again, yes, it is something they can use, but your value to the marketplace is in the problem you solve. And I would say that, sometimes, and I've heard this, and again, this is that, well, you don't have to be an expert in order to do PLR. Yeah, you do. You have to know something, and you have to put together 2 sets of sales pages. So I would say it's not an easy thing to do resale rights or PLR. I would say it's easiest to solve a problem. Now, let me tell you how you're going to do this. Okay, so let's say that you're solving the problem in Facebook. I'm going to say focus on something specific in Facebook. And what you're going to give people is you're going to turn the PLR into a daily system. So in other words, you can take, if you can break it into, I don't know, it'd be ambitious. You can break it into let's say into something they can do for X number of days. It's ambitious, but it's possible. But you'd need 365 lessons. Now, I said that I was going to try this at some point. I do a year-long, literally a year-long thing, but I never got around to creating the 365 videos. But again, can you imagine what would happen if you hit the marketplace with a 365-day system of things that you have recorded for every day of the calendar year? Right? Again, it's not something that people do often. And if you want to have something where you got a USP, again, it's ambitious. Now, again, I know there's no guarantee it's going to sell, but you want to make a splash, right? Come to the marketplace with a daily system, right? A daily system. You can also break up a process over 1 year's time using 53 weekly modules. So in other words, you want to do Facebook, right? You want to take a specific problem you're solving, and you're to break that problem up over 52 weeks, right? 52 modules. Once a week, you're going to meet, and you're going to do it live, and then you're going to give out the recording, right? You can also do another way. You can do a 30-day challenge. So you're going to do 30 modules. So in other words, and I did this with 1,000 True Fans. The 30-day challenge I did this with, right? I did this with the Entrepreneur Mandate. And all these products were specific problems that I used a 30-day system, and then I spread out the content over 30 days. Now, it's not easy to do because you really got to think through the steps that people need to take every day. But if you're talking about, okay, how do I differentiate the content? Take it and give it a deadline. You can do a year system. You can do a weekly system over a year. You can do a 30-day challenge, right? You can do, say that you are you're into personal development, right? Personally, I think personal development, I'm surprised I haven't seen anybody do this. They don't hurry up. I'm going to jump in it, and I'm not going to do it, right? I wish I could, right? If I could really think about how to do it, if there was something that kind of fit my particular way of doing stuff, I would do it. Do a 90-day challenge. And one of the reasons I know this sells is because Evan Pagan, every single cotton picking year, sells Wake Up Productive. And all it is it's personal development over 90 days from his perspective. Right? So again, if you want to take your PLR and turn it into something, you can do a 90-day challenge. Now, what's going to happen if you record a session live every day for 90 days and nobody comes? What do I care? I could care less if anybody comes or not. You know why? Because eventually I'm going to have 90 video recordings. And then when I go to the marketplace with those 90 video recordings, I'm going to have something. And I don't care if you don't have any affiliates, you don't have any partnerships. If you hit the market with that, right, you are going to get some attention. One of the things you can do with PLR, again, is a 90-day system. Because I guess what does it take? It takes X number of amount of time to make change, right? So you've got to have, I guess, like a 3-month cycle, and then that change is going to be permanent. So again, a 90-day challenge is something that, again, it can definitely be done. Self-help and productivity, right? Help people to get productive in 90 days. You're going to take the PLR and turn it into that. Do a 12-hour challenge. I've done that before, right? I did a PLR hackathon, how to do PLR over 12 modules. You can do that, right? You can do a hackathon in anything. I was just thinking today, if I was an expert in Udemy, I'd do a Udemy hackathon. So in other words, you're going to do 12 sessions, and by the end of those 12 sessions, I'm going to have my course on Udemy in your course. So again, all you're doing is you're taking the concept and you're flipping it, right? You're turning it. You're giving it you're giving it something specific, right? And then you're putting a time deadline on it. And it makes it a little more sellable, and it makes it a little sexier. Put a time system on it. And then you can do a 24-hour challenge. I haven't done that yet. I want to do that. All right. And then lastly, I've done a virtual summit before. I would say, that's a way to kind of bring everything into a week's time. And you get some experts, and they can kind of bring your content for you, right? All you're doing is bringing the experts together. And there's a whole psychology and science behind the speakers you're going to get. But here's the key, right? Here's the key. Whatever your niche is in, be first to do it. Right now, it doesn't mean that I can't. Somebody in our market can't do a PLR summit, but I did it first, right? And so you could be first in your niche, whatever it is, right? If you're going to do a virtual summit, do a virtual summit on Udemy. Do a virtual summit on, on fan pages, anything, right? Just do it time constrained. Again, all you're doing is turning the PLR into something specific and something time-based. Now, here's the stuff that's going to help you. You don't have to have all this stuff, but if you have one or two of these things, it's going to help you. Or whatever you have of these things is going to give you the advantage. So in other words, you do need to know the niche. So whatever you're going to do, if you're going to do a WordPress hackathon, you need to be an expert in WordPress. If you're going to be a Udemy hackathon, or you need to know the niche, right? If you're going to do, let's say, an HTML hackathon, you need to know HTML. So you got to know the niche. You got to kind of know what people are struggling with, and you have to know what you need to do to teach them. Now, here's the thing, right? And here's where the product snowball comes in. You need to be credible. So what makes you credible? Well, for some people, they like to see you write on stuff. Right now, in our market, I don't read a lot of people's blogs in our market. I don't know if you all do. I don't. Could have a blog. You could be a writer. You could have a podcast. So in other words, you're talking to product creators on a regular basis. But you need to have something. You could have a YouTube channel, right? And you could be talking about a YouTube channel, and I still think that we're not at the point where you can only do Facebook Live, because people who do Facebook Lives, when they get done, they put them on YouTube. So you still need to have a YouTube channel. And here's where the product snowball comes in. I think you need to have a number of products in your niche. And so when you have a number of products in your niche, it says about you, it says something about you that I can trust this product, that I can trust a product that I'm about to buy because you've already produced these other ones. Doesn't mean I'll buy your other ones, but when I see that you produce some, so in other words, I can see that there's a product line here when I look at your whatever I'm looking at. So if I look at your website, you don't have to have them all on the website, but I can look at you and I can see that you have a product line. When you have a number of products in a line, that means then that you're trustworthy for me to buy your current product, right? So now, so again, when you're doing these little launches, don't worry about the fact that, let's say, they don't have a bunch of sales. Again, we're trying to snowball the effect.